spoken with him?
I haven't, but officially, Judge, I think that, well, I'm not going to say that, but okay. But the client is allowed to acquiesce to the waiving of his appearance. I have spoken with his family, and the primary concern was bond. As articulated, his concern was bond. So, but we can wait. It's up to the court. I have all day, Judge. I have all day.
Let's see. So he has bond. The state has no position on it. And you're waiving it.
Correct, Judge. What me and Mr. Jasper talked about, Judge, is that it was going to be $2,500 on each count. He was to have no contact with the alleged victim, which is Miss Shannon Ham, and that he would have a curfew as determined by the court. I don't know if the court wanted him to be in from dusk till dawn or for a particular time frame.
Well, I don't even know where he's living. He's all over the place. And I didn't like the bond was $5,000 apiece. So you're asking me to lower it what I said it at.
Your Honor, I was not aware of that.
Okay. He already had a bond.
I gave him a bond, surprisingly, but I did give him one. Based on all of his shenanigans, but
well, Mr. Johnson, would you agree to the $5,000 each?
Yeah, if the court's already said it, I think it should
be. I'm really not willing to lower it, but that's fine if he's gonna. How old is he? He's been doing this since he was supposed to have a curfew, and now he's too old to have a curfew. So I don't even know, how Grandmama's gonna enforce that.
Well, here's the full picture, Judge, because his family is quite concerned. I know that he was at one point staying with his mother, but I think there might be a change in that. I do anticipate that his bond has been surrendered. Well, not anticipate. I know that his bond has been surrendered in Muskogee County, and so he will most likely actually go from Harris County, if his family is able to make bond, to Muskogee County. And so we do have the address. We can put the address on the record if the court wants to confine him to that particular address as well. I don't think that that's ever been done.
You're talking about out of Harris County?
Well, he has. Well,
we can't. That's why I'm not going to do that. I mean, I know his whole family's here for his whole life, but I mean, not that I would never do it, but right now I won't. I don't know where the jail went. I guess they're having trouble. All right. Yes. Well, I'll keep the bond as it is. He obviously needs to let the court know where he'll be. Who's this Dallas Mill address, Mr. Johnson? Is that the grandmother?
Correct. That's the Miss Donna Oliver.
Okay. All right. Well, he ain't gonna stay there, no way. So, but she'll get him to court. I can tell you that. So that's fine. If the notices go there, that's where they need to go. I'm waiting on them to come back in.
I think we have them back.
We had them.
I see Harris County Jail.
All right, Mr. Oliver, can you raise your hand if you can hear me? All right, pull your mask down so we can see you and identify you. I've got the officer here, and the DA's office. We've got your attorney, Mr. Anthony Johnson. If you want to, I have agreed. Do you want to address him, Mr. Johnson, before I do, or?
I will briefly, Judge. Hey, Austin. One of the things that the judge is going to say is that she imposed 2 bonds, $1 to $5,000 each, and so you would be able to get out with a couple exceptions. We're going to have to address a few things in Muskogee, and the court is very concerned, right? Because this is our 3rd case. And I do anticipate the court's going to impose some conditions, whether it be a curfew, whether you have to be confined to your residence. And in the event that you do not abide by that, I do reasonably anticipate that your bond is going to be revoked until your cases are resolved. And I don't anticipate your cases being resolved, especially with the time frame now as far as the drug labs. We're talking about an easy 365. So it's either going to be really good or really bad. Either you're going to be free outside, being able to hug your family, or you're going to be locked up in the Muskogee County Jail or the Harris County Jail. And that's going to be completely your choice. Completely your choice. But that's it, Judge. That's all. All
right, Mr. Johnson, is there no talk of rehab here?
So
raise your hand if there is, Mr. Oliver. Okay, yeah. That's all I need to say. Hold on. Go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
We actually have discussed rehab on his case as it pertains to Harris County, Judge. I hadn't had the chance to speak to Mr. Jasper about it, but at one point it had Mrs. Bell. And so we were looking at doing rehab. The only issue is that we were trying to finalize his Muskogee County case prior to sending him to rehab.
Okay. All right, Austin, you can still hear me? Okay. I'm going to keep the bonds as they are. If you have to be released to Muskogee, you have to be released to Muskogee. You can't do anything about that. We've got your grandmama's address for your court notices. I'm not confining you there because I don't hear your name as long as you're not in Harris County. But then when you come back, I start hearing Austin's name. And then I'm looking at you in the Harris County Jail. At the end of the day, you know you need rehab. You know that's all your grandmother, your mother, everybody has ever wanted was you to get help and get rehab and not go back to jail. You're not going to continue to live, you're not going to live a productive life if you continue on this path. The next time I see you, I will not grant a bond for you, no matter what the case is. So it's time for Austin to grow up, because you never have, and get right and decide that you want to live a productive adult life without grandmama telling you what to do and being there to enable you to do it. So you get your stuff taken care of in Muskogee, but in the meantime, you need to be thinking, because whether you go to prison or not, you need to go get some help. And that needs to be your goal. It's not like you're working in life anyway. You need to make your job be rehab and getting yourself better so you can be a productive working citizen. And that's what you get when I agreed to give you bond with the history that you got. Is there anything else, Mr. Johnson, on him?
Judge, this is actually one of those rare times where I want to echo the court sentiment. Austin, your mother has called me pretty much every day, and your grandmother has called me every day, and almost every day, every single day, they have called crying, right? And that takes a toll on the family. And one of the things that I told them is that I think that Mr. Johnson is taking you as far as I can possibly take you. Like, I don't have anything in the bag of tricks in order to get Austin out anymore. There's nothing. There's no conversation. There's nothing I'm going to be able to call any judge, DA to say on your behalf. And so we've really reached the rubber meets the road of where it's either going to happen or it's not going to happen. And so I think we gotta keep pressing forward, man. Keep doing, well, we can't keep doing what we're doing, right? Because that gets us here, and just do something different. And I'm sure, I know the court can't hear it, but I'm sure Judge Webb Austin is very thankful for the court of even giving him a bond. I didn't anticipate him getting a bond today. And so I'm sure that he's very thankful for that. And we just got to readjust a few things and find our way forward.
And for the record, as much as you've talked to Mama and Grandmama, I haven't. So I can imagine that they are ringing you off the hook. They haven't even tried with me. Yeah. But I know what they want, and I know how they feel.
Yep.
So, this is it, Austin. You need to take this opportunity and run with it for however long you got to figure it out and however long you got to be in Muskogee or whatever you need to do. It's time for you to quit wreaking havoc on other people and them. You got to get this together. All right, Officer Nance, have you got anything to add?
No, ma'am. Everything sounds good.
Okay. All right, then. Well, Mr. Johnson, thank you for being here. Officer Nance, and you all are free to go.
Austin, you don't have any questions? We'll talk.
Well, yeah, we can't hear you. He can't hear you. He'll have to contact you.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
That's all I have for this morning. May I be excused?
Yes, sir. You may. Thank you. Okay, so now, Mr. Jasper and Mr. Webb, you want to go to a breakout room?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. All right. So we ready for Mr. Fortson?
Yes, we're ready for we'll have a hearing on that one.
Okay. All right, Corporal Akins, if you'll, or, is that Officer Relford? We need to bring in Mr. Fortson. Okay.
And Deputy Perez is on there?
Deputy Perez, I guess I could go on and swear you in. If you'll raise your right hand, Deputy Perez. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. All right. We'll wait on Mr. Fortson. Yeah. I realized that too. All right, Mr. Fortson, raise your hand if you can hear me. Okay. All right, we're here. We've got Eric Webb as your attorney, Mr. Jasper as the prosecutor, and we've got Deputy Perez as the prosecuting officer. You have been charged with possession of a firearm by a convicted felon and driving while license suspended. Deputy Perez is under oath, and if you will go ahead and state your name and agency for the record, Deputy Perez, and why you made this case against Mr. Fortson.
Deputy Jason Perez with Harris County Sheriff's Office. On the date of January 5th this year, I was running stationary radar on Highway 27 when Mr. Kennedy Fortson was driving a black and color Chevy Malibu at approximate speeds of, I ended up catching him on radar at 80 and a 55 in that area. I then conducted a truck stop on Mr. Fortson, and when I approached the vehicle, I asked for his driver's license proof of insurance. He stated that he did not have a driver's license on him. I then asked for if he had a license, and he stated no. Then I asked Mr. Fortson to exit the vehicle. He provided me with a name and a date of birth. I was then able to run his information on my MDT, and then was advised that Mr. Fortson was denied and was currently suspended with his driver's license. I then spoke with Mr. Fortson about it after verifying with dispatch if it was true to be suspended. Once I was notified it was suspended, I spoke with Mr. Fortson, advised him of that he was going to be under arrest. He then advised me that he had a firearm on his person. He kindly pointed to the area. I was then able to retrieve the firearm and secure it for his safety and mine. I then returned back to my vehicle with Mr. Fortson, put him in the back of the vehicle, and serial number to the firearm. Firearm did not come back with any warrants or suspended. He he then was transported to Harris County Jail for possession of a firearm by a convicted felon after a criminal history was completed on his person and for driving while suspended.
All right, Mr. Webb.
Deputy Perez, you initially pulled Mr. Fortson over. He indicated he didn't have a license, and I'm not sure about the insurance situation. But did I understand you correctly? Say you asked him to step out of the vehicle. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir, I did. Once he told me that he did not have a license.
Was he placed in handcuffs?
Not in the beginning.
Okay. So initially when he got out, did he go around to the back of the car? Is that fair to say? Or in front of your car?
He went to the rear of the vehicle and to the front of mine.
Okay. Now when you ran the checks and it came back suspended, obviously you were going to place him under arrest for driving on suspended license at that time. And
yes, sir.
As I understand it from your indications, is that he immediately notified you that he had a firearm on his person, and that was,
yes, sir.
Was that in a pants pocket of some sort?
Yes, sir. It was in his left pants pocket.
Okay. You didn't have to even ask him about it. He immediately notified you of it, correct?
Correct. As soon as I put him in handcuffs, he told me where it was.
And at the time, before that time, he had remained not in handcuffs. Is that accurate to say?
Correct.
And that check took, what, maybe 5-10 minutes, would you say, to check the status of that license?
I'd say less than 5, but.
Okay. And then, like I said, you placed him in handcuffs and placed him in the back of the patrol vehicle. He gave you the correct name, correct? Didn't mislead you about his name. And
yes, sir.
Didn't mislead you about the firearm or anything of that sort. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
Was totally cooperative during the entire investigation.
Yes, sir.
All right. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Mr. Jasper, do you have anything?
Just a few questions. The deputy, where on Highway 27 did this occur?
At the 9-mile marker, just south of Hamilton Gun and Pawn.
Okay, all right. And was there anybody else in the car with him?
Yes, there was another friend of his that were headed to work together.
Mm-hmm. And what was that person's name?
Unfortunately, I don't have the report pulled up. It's not letting me pull it up at the moment.
Okay.
But
So,
he was later. Sir.
Yeah. What happened to him that night?
He was later transported to Harris County or Muskogee County Jail because he had warrants for an FTA.
Okay.
Through them.
All right. I have no other questions, Your Honor.
Okay.
Okay.
Your Honor, I could ask just one additional based on Mr. Jasper's question. The individual that was arrested on the Muskogee County warrant, there was no Harris charges on him. Is that accurate? Whoever that passenger was.
Correct.
Okay. That's all I had, John.
Okay.
Well,
I'll hear from you, Mr. Webb.
Your Honor, obviously they have made out probable cause in this case. I would ask for consideration of a bond in this case for the simple reason that Mr. Fortson was cooperative in the investigation. He was literally had the gun on him, was unhandcuffed for several minutes in back of the car, didn't run from the officer. It told the officer about the gun before there was even a situation where the officer had to do a pat down for officer safety or immediately notified. Didn't try and throw the gun away, was totally cooperative in the investigation. And I would ask the court for consideration of bond based on that, though, as to both of the charges there, the driving on suspended license and the possession of firearm by convicted felon charge.
All right, Mr. Jasper.
And Your Honor, my argument would be going towards the charge of possession of firearm by a convicted felon. The bottom line state would ask the court not to consider a bond for Mr. Fortson. First, on the concept that he is a risk of reoffending. He's currently on probation for previous convictions out of Columbus, Georgia, which include aggravated assault, obstruction, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, hijacking a motor vehicle, and use of a firearm by a convicted felon during a crime. So as those, and that's within 4 years. He's still on probation for those. And here he is at in the darkest hours of the morning. He's driving 80 down a 2-lane road at 55 miles an hour, and he's got a 22 caliber pistol in his front pocket. So risk of reoffending, and therefore he's also a risk to the community if that's what he is doing late hours of the night. And that concludes.
Hold on just a minute. I've got some people in the courtroom. I don't know who they are. Mr. Jasper, I'm going to let them identify themselves. Who are you, ma'am?
I'm Jasmine Caldwell, the mother of his child.
Uh-huh.
So I'm not, gonna say that they did was not stupid because he know that. Like the charges that he just mentioned, I feel like he did what he was supposed to do. That was 6 years ago. Like he literally just got out of jail and he made a stupid mistake. And it's not like he was going to do anything stupid. Like he was literally on the way to work. He been in jail since my child been 7 months, and my baby just met his dad 2 days before his 6th birthday. Like what he did was stupid. It was dumb. He know that. Like, like please give him a like get a chance. Like he was on the way to work, and he knew he shouldn't have that gun on him. But
All right, and tell me your name again. I'm sorry.
it's Jasmine.
All right, Jasmine, and I appreciate you being here. And Jasmine, Mr. Fortson, if you'll look up at me and let me make sure with your mask, or maybe not, but let me say this: if there was anybody humble at a first appearance when I saw him, he was it. I do appreciate the fact that Mr. Webb, that he was cooperative. And I know Mr. Webb has to do his job. At my point, I have to do my job too. I've never wanted to give somebody a bond as much as I want to give Mr. Fortson one, but legally I can't because of the charges that he's on probation for. If he was not on probation and they were in the past, I would be giving him one. So this is a hardship. This was a mistake, Mr. Fortson's, and there wasn't another gun involved. That's my other holdup. So I hate it. I know where you are, and I'm sorry. You got to stay strong. Your child, Mr. Fortson, you got to stay strong, but you got to accept the consequences for where they are today. So I cannot set a bond. I am going to bind them over to Superior Court, and that is where he can move forward with his case at this time. Are any other matters?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Jasper, we've got Chance Allen. Yes, you're free to go, Mr. Webb. Deputy Perez.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
Thank you.
Give me just a minute for them to get Mr. Allen, Mr. Jasper.
All right, is Mr. Allen represented?
Mr. Allen is not represented, so we need to talk about that too.
All right.
But Mr. Allen is determined that he's not going to be represented as much as I've told him he should be. So we'll hold on just a minute. Mr. Jasper, can you hear me?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Allen, hey, did we give you a copy of his email to me? All right, he's charged with meth. I've given him a $2,500 bond. His co-defendant has already been released. I wanted to ask Mr. Allen if he refused the public defender. Mr. Allen, we can't hear you, so I guess when I ask you a question, you have to nod if you'll take your mask down so I can see you. All right, my clerk's telling me that they haven't appointed him one because of the conflict defender. Is that correct, Mr. Allen? Or so you wanted a public defender, but they haven't appointed you one, and it's been since the what? He's been locked up since the 9th of December, Mr. Jasper.
Yes, ma'am.
So, and I agree with Mr. Allen. He's, you know, I don't know what's taking him so long, but I hate to keep putting him off.
Right.
I have, however, like I said, I did put the bond at $2,500, Mr. Allen, which is extremely low for the possession of meth. But I don't know what the state's position is on past that.
But, Your Honor, if I may ask, what was if you could summarize the email that Mr. Allen sent?
All right, Mr. Allen says, I'm wondering as to why I cannot go to preliminary without an attorney. At this point, I would just like to represent myself. Do I have to have an attorney for the bond reduction hearing at 90 days too? This is infuriating. I cannot make bond, and I am wanting to request or bond at preliminary unless for some reason I can plea out. Is there any way you can help me out or give me some advice in the right direction? I have a family whom is struggling to make ends meet, a girlfriend who is trying to take care of a newborn, as well as my household, her brother's kid, and my blind mother. I'm also supposed to be attending Columbus Tech this spring for an automotive technology degree. When has my preliminary hearing been pushed to? I'm just stressed because this is not my lifestyle. If I could have played out to probation on my first offenders, I would have by now. I can't make bond. The public defender's office still has no answers for me. I'm just ready to go home. Please help me out.
Okay.
Was that your email, Mr. Allen? Nod your head, or if that was. Okay.
Well, Your Honor, I would leave the procedures up to the court, but a $2,500 bond is agreeable to the state. And so again, we would have no objection to that. And, but as far as the procedure, I know he's not able to speak to us. I don't know if the court will accept, his comments in the email as his argument for bond, but we would be agreeable to $2,500.
Well, the problem is that we can't hear you, Mr. Allen, with you, and I don't know why. I wish we could figure this out. Do you have anything to add, Deputy Brown?
No, Your Honor, I'm fine with the bond or whatever the court decides.
All right. Who were you on the phone with? Did they say?
And their microphone wasn't working.
All right. Is there some way we can put him on speaker on a phone? I mean, I can't, if he's wanting to represent himself, I can't do anything if he can't talk to me.
Hey, just want to get, it makes currently
All right, so we can hear you all now.
Ma'am.
All right, so we read your email, Mr. Allen. You've expressed. Here's the thing. You do have the right to remain silent without an attorney. Obviously, it's always best to have someone that's in your best interest representing you. You do have the right to waive your hearing today and not have it. You know, I would consider lowering it, but we got to talk a little bit about some conditions before we would do that. The thing is, you talked about all these people that are depending on you. Well, you can't be using meth or around meth or people that are using meth. You can't be around all that if all these people are depending on you either.
Yes, ma'am. I was at the location I usually wasn't at. I was at my it's my girlfriend's brother's house. I was out there visiting for a day. You know, they had a family dinner, and I decided to take him to the store because he has no license.
Who is that, Mr. Short?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, how are we gonna? If I agree to reduce this bond, are you're not gonna have any contact with Mr. Short?
No, ma'am. I'm actually, to be honest, quite fed up with Mr. Short. Mr. Short promised to bond me out. Made several false promises to me, and he is as good as dead to me, to be honest, quite frankly. I mean, it's infuriating the way he has done me, considering it was his meth. Yes, I was at the time partaking in it, so I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say I wasn't. Did I know he had it on him? No, I was not aware, but me being in possession of the vehicle and driving the vehicle, I assume responsibility because I should have made sure that he didn't have anything on him or, that there was nothing in the vehicle when we left. So, I mean, I do assume that responsibility. I understand that.
All right. So do you want to move forward with the hearing or do you want to waive the hearing this morning?
I would like to move forward.
With the hearing? Okay. All right. Then I'm going to need you to raise your right hand. And have I put you under oath, Deputy Brown?
No, Your Honor.
All right. If you'll raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Mr. Allen?
I do.
Okay. All right, then I'll let you start, Deputy Brown. Mr. Allen is charged with possession of meth. If you'll state your name and agency and why you made this case against him.
Aaron Brown with the Harris County Sheriff's Office. On December 8th, around 7:45 p.m., I was traveling on Highway 315 between the Chevron and the Dollar General when a vehicle passed me and failed to dim their bright lights. I initiated a traffic stop inside the parking lot of the Dollar General is where we ended up. Mr. Allen was driving. Mr. Short was the passenger. Mr. Short tried to exit the vehicle and then went back in. We identified that he had a warrant out of Harris County. While we were waiting to verify the warrants, Deputy Williams and I, speaking with both individuals, got consent to search the vehicle. During the search, we found 2 small plastic bags of suspected methamphetamines that had been sent off to the crime lab under the passenger seat in between the center console and the passenger's front passenger seat. After they were arrested on those charges, we were able to confirm that the warrant for Mr. Short was valid. Mr. Short had marijuana in his pocket, which Mr. Short did admit to before we began searching his pockets, and that was disposed of. They weren't charged. No one was charged for that.
Okay. Mr. Jasper, do you want me to let you go? Do you want?
If Mr. Allen can go first, I'll let him go first.
Mr. Allen, do you have any questions for Mr. Brown? At this time, it's not really, again, I've advised you of your right to remain silent. So anything you say can be used against you from this hearing in your prosecution moving forward. So if you have any questions for Mr. Brown at this time, but again, this is up to you.
I believe upon standing in front of your vehicle, when y'all went to search the vehicle initially, you found a crystalline substance in the passenger seat and then immediately went and asked Mr. Short if you find any more, and he told you no. Right? I believe that was what had happened.
Deputy Williams might have found some residue, crystal-like residue, yes. And it is pretty good to talk to. But if we were to find it in the driver's seat, it would have been customary to go to you. If it was in the passenger seat, the crystal-like substance or residue, we would have went to the passenger, so yes.
Okay, I just wanted that stated for the record because I remember it being found in his seat and y'all going to him, so I'm just trying to point the finger in his direction. I mean, it wasn't mine. If I can potentially beat the case, that would be wonderful, but if I have to inevitably plea out because I was in possession of the vehicle, I guess I might have to.
Deputy Brown, do you have something? Did you?
I would say that I would be very inclined to be fine with whatever the court decides for bond or release, if he would want to be a witness against Mr. Short.
Actually, I can further state if your vehicle was parked directly behind the Jeep, correct? Your dash cam was rolling. Obviously, because the moment the vehicle starts, they're rolling.
Yeah.
Upon which he started hiding the methamphetamines in the vehicle, I stuck my hands and my head out the window and was smoking my cigarette. So I could be on the dash cam scene outside my driver's window smoking a cigarette. I don't know if you remember me doing that. It probably seemed quite odd that I was leaning out the window smoking a cigarette. But I did that. So I could do that.
Mr. Allen, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole here and have the trial here, but easy defense to that is the fact that you have to prove you didn't know it was in the vehicle, not that you helped in hiding it or anything like that. So I would just recommend maybe working to help prosecute Mr. Short after today's hearing.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jasper? Are you finished, Mr. Allen?
That's all I have for now. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right, good morning, Deputy Brown. Very short series of questions. So you said that the substance was found between the seat and the console. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. So basically where the bottom passenger seat would bolt into the floor as if it was dropped or pushed down in between the center console and the passenger seat.
Okay. If you were sitting in the driver's seat, would you be able to reach these two baggies from your position in the driver's seat?
Yes.
Okay. That's all the questions I have, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Allen, do you have any follow-up?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Anything, Mr. Jasper?
Your Honor, for probable cause, I would argue that the state submit the bar for probable cause, and the fact that there was a there's a substance which is suspected to be methamphetamine is in the car, and although it may not be actually possessed by Mr. Allen, I think we believe that it meets the standard of within his control, that it's within his arm's reach of the car. Neither one of the passengers or the passenger nor the driver has admitted to it's there. So I argue that Mr. Allen is in control or would be in control of the substance from his position in the automobile. And I would also say that based on a comment that Mr. Allen just made under oath, that he knew that there was probably a dash cam watching him from the rear. So he was purposely smoking his cigarette outside of his window. And I would say that may lead also to the probable cause that he suspected there might be something in the car that he knew about. And as far as bond, the $2,500 which the court has presented earlier is satisfactory to the state, but I'll leave that up to I'll leave the amount to the court. But I would also ask there to be other conditions. And the condition is a curfew condition, whether it's from 10 o'clock at night until 6 in the morning. But further, there's no contact with Mr. Short as long as we're, working through this case. And also that if Mr. Allen is concerned about his ability to support all the people he mentioned in his email, then I would also have a condition. I would also request a condition in his bond that he's not to be in association with people who are using drugs or possessing drugs or locations where there's suspected or known drugs, and he should probably know that. And I think that covers it.
Okay. All right. Do you have any specific, not that it matters, Mr. Allen, but do you have any specific objection to any of the bond conditions that Mr. Jasper has laid out?
No, ma'am. The only thing I object is I can't make $2,500 bond. None of my family I've called, that none of them can afford it without struggling themselves. As I stated, my mother's power was cut off. Like the day we got our time on the phone here, the free time on the phone for Christmas, my caller, my mother's power was off. She was putting $5 on her prepaid power. I wouldn't be in contact with Mr. Short, and on top of that, I would be living at my grandmother's here in Tolland. So right across the street from Billy's IGA.
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes.
So in response to what he just said, if he doesn't have any members of his family who can pay his bond, then to me that indicates also that, you know, he needs to do more to help his family. So if they can't pay it and he can't pay it, I would also ask the condition be added that Mr. Allen seek employment and find employment as soon as possible. All right, so he can start helping his family and also start helping himself in this charge of possession of methamphetamine.
All right, so did you have a job, Mr. Allen?
I was working for myself as part-time as a mechanic, you know, when I could, just working on whatever vehicle I could for my family, or helping out Burkett's Auto Body Shop on Veterans Parkway. My brother-in-law, his uncle owns it, so really that's why I was hoping to get into the spring semester at Columbus Technical College, so I could be in an automotive course and he would be willing to hire me full-time.
So how old are you, Mr. Allen?
I'm 22.
Okay.
Your Honor, I think Deputy Brown would like to make a comment.
This is my first felony charge ever. Like, it's the first time I've been in this serious of trouble.
I'm not questioning who his grandmother is. Are you speaking of Victoria Wyatt's grandmother across from Billy's?
Yes, Victoria Wyatt no longer stays there.
No, that's fine. Your Honor, I have one thing to say about that. I will say, in my experience with the Burketts, the Wyatts, and many of the residents there at Hart Drive, the grandmother at that residence is not going to put up with any of that at her house. She's, no offense to you, Mr. Allen, but from everyone that I've met in that circle, she's the only one that will not put up with anything of that sort. So I would be fine if that's listed as his address and that's where he can be found. And then I have a question for you, Your Honor, if I'm allowed to speak to the defense attorney on cases such as this, does that also apply to if he's defending himself about the case?
This is my first, Mr. Jasper. I would, if he says yes and he's representing himself,
Yeah, I don't want to state an answer, but I think at the position we are, Mr. Allen is representing himself and he's asking questions of the deputy in the capacity of representing himself, not as Mr. Allen, the defendant. And
right.
But I agree that if Mr. Allen would want to put himself on quote unquote the stand right now, then the state could ask him questions.
Okay. I just didn't know if I would be permitted to, if for some reason he weren't to bond out tonight by the time I would be permitted to speak to him.
And I think it would just be in fairness to Mr. Allen that he would understand what his position would be in.
do you understand that, Mr. Allen, in representing yourself, you have the right to speak with who you want to, but it can be incriminating to yourself moving forward. But that's his call.
Correct.
So what was,
All right, so here's what we're gonna do. So what is your grandmother's name? And is she aware, is she going to let you live there?
yes, I have all my things are there. I mean, I got a room in the front room, that's Chance's room, it's still got my stuff in it. Her name is Nellie Rainey, Nellie, Rainey, Rainey. And just as Deputy Brown has stated, she absolutely does not put up with no crap. Like that's why the Burketts were made to move, was because, you know, she found one time some paraphernalia in the house, and they had to go. So they got a place in Mulberry Estates.
All right, so you got a curfew from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. You need to be seeking gainful employment. And no contact whatsoever with Short or anyone else that is involved with any drugs. All right, and tell me that address, the Rainey address.
3859 US Highway 27, Catala, Cataula 31804.
All right, I'm going to reduce it to $1,000. If you have problems with that, Mr. Allen, we'll talk about an OR bond. But again, these conditions apply. And as much time as we've spent on you, I promise you, if you come back before this court or in front of Deputy Brown or get arrested again, you will not get the same opportunity.
Yes, I completely understand.
All right. Is there anything else, Deputy Brown?
No, Your Honor, sorry to extend the meeting.
Oh, you're fine. I'm here all day. I'm just saying, Mr. Allen needs to do what he's going to say he's going to do if he's going to do right. You know, you get this opportunity, and let me say this, Mr. Allen, meth's not something that you can play with. And I understand you say that he's got it, but let me tell you, I'm not riding around with people that I know have meth. So you can't just treat it like it's normal. And I understand you say you got a baby or you got one on the way.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, that's most important. And, you know, I don't know what kind of mama she's got, but you got to think about those things too.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Mr. Jasper?
Yes, Your Honor, if Mr. Allen is going to continue to represent himself, then Mr. Allen, I will accuse this case within the next couple of days, and what that will mean to you, you will eventually get a summons to an arraignment hearing in the future. But at any time, as long as you're representing yourself, you can contact me at the Harris County District Attorney's Office, and we can discuss your case up until the point that you are represented by an attorney.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Or Deputy Brown? Or he just needs to contact you?
Just contact me, Your Honor.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna try and talk to Mr. Allen tonight.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Any other matters? Then we are adjourned.